Grand Rising. I know y'all thought it was over, that I wasn't going to come through yesterday. I just had a lot to do. And not only did I have a lot to do, I did put Words to Grow on, but I have enough content. And I'm back at it. Like I didn't miss a beat. I wanted to yesterday, but we were flooded with phone calls. And, I had been up all day doing work. So I decided not to. So if you were disappointed, my apologies. But we're right back at it, as you see, early in the morning, 5:40. And as usual, Hotep family, that means unshakable inner peace for those of you that don't know. Ashe means so it is, so it will be, because you'll probably hear me say that repeatedly. When I say race first, I'm talking about thought and behavior that places the social, political, economic interests, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the Black and African race first to facilitate African sovereignty. I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm not saying it to be negative. I'm saying it because, like every other ethnicity and organism is doing what it needs to do to survive, so shall we. Ashe. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing you my favorite teacher's book, Blueprint for Black Power. Ashe. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm loving this book. What have you learned from this book thus far? What other books would you like for me to read, to buy, so that we can discuss, express, and build on? What city are you tuning in from? I don't care if you don't see this for the next 5 years. Let me know what city you're tuning in from. Let me know your thoughts. How has your week been? If you're down and out or whatever, and you just need some positive upliftment, you can reach out to me by going to my channel, going to the About section, and clicking on that info and just emailing me. If it's really urgent and you really need some help, you can probably text me, calling. If I don't know you, don't really pick up the phone, but 347-674-3651 is my business line. That's 347-674-3651. If you can give me a moment, I need to post to my other social media sites so I can hopefully get my viewer and subscriptions up, right? So let's see what we got going on here. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, if you're tuning in, please let me know what city you're tuning in from, what you've learned so far from Blueprint for Black Power. Also, let me know what has been your favorite message that you're getting so far. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, I know it's taking me a second. I gotta give me a second. I'm gonna get to it. Don't worry. I know some people like, man, do you really be talking to yourself? It don't be so much I be talking to myself. I just be thinking, who's possibly listening or gonna listen? And what is it that I can tell them? So that I didn't even think about posting it there, but that's cool. Yeah. All right, one more. Again, if you're just tuning in, tell me what city you're calling in from. Tuning in from, I say calling like it's a podcast. We're gonna take it to a podcast in a moment, though. Let's see. Let's go here. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my guy Lovelace, especially if you watch this broadcast of mine. Happy born day, King. And you always young at heart. But you got the brain of a genius. You know what I mean? The mind of an elder. So you forever young in my book, King. Mm-hmm. Again, let me tell my guy happy born day. He definitely one of the smartest men that I've had the pleasure of meeting. I haven't seen him in a long time. I've known him since we were youths, but he always was sharp. It seems like he's only gotten sharper. So big up to my guy for standing through all the tumultuous times and still standing firm. And he'd be looking out for people. He'd be giving people great information. To my knowledge, he's a great friend. And also, when I say looking out for people, like he really be leading people in the right direction, trying to get them high paying positions. Like literally, like putting it out there for them. So let me just shout him out real quick. Then I'm gonna hop right into my favorite book, the real Bible for the Black nation. One second, y'all. I know it's a little quiet, but go grab your coffee, go grab your tea, set your little soothing music, light a candle. We're gonna dig right into it. We're gonna be talking about consciousness and power. And I know y'all like, man, why he's still on consciousness? Well, the title of the book is Blueprint for Black Power. And everything you see, everything that you've seen that's been created, started with a thought first. It was seen in the mind of man. I don't care what word, what book, it always seen in the mind of man first. And you know who the first man and woman were? Are you aware that all civilization and humanity came from them? You can't get deeper than the original. No, you can't. Embrace it. There's a very significant reason why I'm telling you to embrace it. If you don't believe me, be so inclined to check out the playlist. It's in the comment section. I'll make sure I put it there. I told you I'm getting a little bit better at this YouTube thing. Yo, there are so many gifts, GIF. I didn't know. I'm not really technically savvy. I'm just like a real regular, straightforward type of person. But I guess in person, I am sort of hilarious. Let my lady tell it. She laugh at everything I do or attempt to do. But I guess that's the support you're supposed to get when you got a queen. Why is he? I don't like that. Y'all want to take everything we got? You can't. No, no, y'all ain't gonna be able to do that. That's wild. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, man, I'm ready to get in it. I'm ready to get it in. So let's dig in. I don't really care what I look like at this moment. It's not really about how I look. Plus, I want y'all to see my ref days. And I don't really think I'm ref. I need a lineup, but I don't know nobody out here like this, so I ain't messing with them. I got to go see Lena in Buffalo. If you in Buffalo, Bear Down Cuts is where it is for your locks, for your lineup. I'm talking about smooth. Ain't gonna be no Zeke's on your face. No, you ain't gonna be bleeding. She got the soft touch. She professional, courteous, kind. I recommend. Also, her man he cut too. Bear Down Cuts is right there on Berwyn and Bailey, right across from my man D's Barbecue. So he got some barbecue over there for you. You know what I mean? They got the cuts so you can get fed and look good all in one stop. You dig? Let's get into part 11 of Blueprint for Black Power. Consciousness and power. Consciousness as power. The state of being conscious and states of being conscious are inextricably related, but not synonymous. The state of being conscious refers to the attainment and maintenance of a level of physiological and psychological arousal or alertness, which permits the conscious being to be aware of, to remember, to recall both past and contemporary internal and external events, to willfully and selectively attend to some stimuli rather than others, to deliberately choose and execute an action in response to environmental and personal goals. The state of being conscious essentially refers to a state of wakefulness or knowingness. The state of being conscious enables the conscious being to amazingly and deliberately behave in certain ways for whatever reasons. How the conscious being actually behaves for what express reasons and to what end reflects its state of consciousness. Consciousness refers to a state of mind that includes varying degrees of awareness in which, depending on its particular organization and condition, both facilitates and sets limits on the ability of the individual to engage in various types of mental and behavioral activities. For example, wakefulness is a state of consciousness which facilitates certain types and forms of self-determined mental and physical behavior not possible during sleep as a state of consciousness, or vice versa. Each level of consciousness makes the achievement of some goals possible while inhibiting the achievement of others. It includes consciousness as a holistic mental and psychological state, simultaneously enables and disenables, allows and disallows the individual to achieve certain ends. In both cases, it acts as a force which either expands and or contracts behavioral possibilities. Hence, consciousness is a form of power. What type of power? How much power it exhibits depends on its level, organizational, and functional state. Wakeful consciousness is an active, goal-oriented, all-inclusive psychophysiological state of being. It includes the operational influence of consciousness as unconscious processes, as well as the behavioral repertoire and possibilities which can influence the mental and physical behavior of the conscious individual. It encompasses and is largely characterized by the fairly consistent ways the individual tends to perceive, interpret, respond to, and behave towards stimuli based on past and current experience, prior conditioning, perceived knowledge, values, and intentions. These factors interact and coalesce to organize consciousness as an attitude, i.e., as a general and ongoing predisposition to behave in certain ways based on operationally available information, experience, abilities, skills, needs, values, and expectations on a characteristic worldview and perception of the self. To possess consciousness is to be possessed by consciousness. For consciousness takeover and represents itself in the body as feelings, emotions, tastes, values, intelligence, and behavior. When relatively stable or consistent, habitual dispositions and tendencies which dynamically structure and are reciprocally structured by consciousness incline the individual or group to act or react in certain fairly predictable ways. Bourdieu, Bourdieu, 1991, refers to such a set of related tendencies as habits. The related tendencies which characterize an individual's consciousness conjoin to generate practices, perceptions, and attitudes which may appear to the individual and others to be natural, cultural, or compulsive in nature. As interpreted by an editor of his work, Thompson, 1991, Bourdieu contends, the body is the site of incorporated history. The practical schemes through which the body is organized are a product of history and at the same time the source of practices and perceptions which reproduce that history. Thompson goes on to contend that Bourdieu's work implies that structured dispositions are also durable. They are ingrained in the body in such a way that they endure through the life history of the individual, operating in a way that is preconscious and unconscious, and hence not readily amenable to conscious reflection and modification. As a durably installed set of dispositions, the habitus tends to generate practices and perceptions, works and appreciations, which concur with the conditions of existence of which the habitus is itself the product. The habitus also provides individuals with a sense of how to act and respond in the course of their daily lives. It orients their actions and inclinations without strictly determining them. It gives them a feel for the game, a sense of what is appropriate in the circumstance and what is not, a practical sense, in parentheses, le sens pratique. The practical sense is not so much a state of mind as a state of the body, a state of being. It is because the body has become a repository of ingrained dispositions that certain actions, certain ways of behaving and responding seem altogether natural. Thompson cautions, when individuals act, they always do so in specific social contexts or settings. Hence, particular practices or perceptions should be seen not as the product of the habitus as such, but as the product of relation between the habitus on the one hand and a specific social context on or fields within which individuals act on the other. In addition to consciousness expressing or representing itself as the habitus, it actively incarnates itself in the organization of the body in the habitual ways the body expresses or deploys itself in the world. Bourdieu refers to this as the bodily hexis. Consciousness as a bodily hexis is to a very good extent personal, cultural, and political history and mythology incarnate. That is, consciousness is shaped by political history and mythology as personal experience and beliefs is embodied, turned into a permanent disposition, a durable way of standing, speaking, walking, and thereby of feeling and thinking. Hence, to shape and organize consciousness is to a measurable extent to shape and organize the mind and body as well as their behavioral development and expression, as well as their behavioral deployment and expression. What we perceive as our ordinary wakeful consciousness is a very active state of mind or psychobiological state of being, which involves applying or using cognitive processes like selectively attending, encoding, thinking, reasoning, recalling, recollecting, evaluating, choosing, imagining, fantasizing, daydreaming processes to achieve certain ends. In addition, it involves the application of various methods of information processing to what is known or recalled, believed, anticipated, expected, desired, or hoped for relative to what is not, and using their outcomes to direct or regulate mental and physical behavior in order to achieve some intended result. The states of consciousness, which typify a given individual, his ranges of awareness and organizational character, are structured, defined, energized, and purposefully directed by sets of values, needs, desires, modes of cognition, self-perceptions, self-concepts, perceptions of others, knowledge, skills, beliefs, emotional tendencies, past experiences, interests, ignorances, and expectations that the individual habitually uses to guide his behavior. States of consciousness, particularly wakeful consciousness, are generally organized under the influence of the individual's predominant intentionality or sense of purpose. Of course, this does not negate the fact that the individual's intentionality or sense of purpose is also reciprocally determined by the state and nature of his personal consciousness. That this is the case highlights the interesting fact that human beings are self-conscious and have a capacity to know or be aware of the fact that they are aware or conscious. This self-reflective consciousness enables the person to review aspects of his own experience and experiencing to know that he knows or that he is ignorant. Therefore, Through self-reflective knowledge or awareness, individual consciousness can motivate its own transformation, can, through positive and negative feedback based on both internal and external sources, regulate and modulate its own state of being. The characteristic modes of cognition used by a person, his range, depth, and efficiency, deeply influence the nature and operation of his consciousness. They are adjunctive instruments of consciousness. That is, to the degree to which the individual utilizes various modes of logic or reasoning, modes of thinking, as means of testing reality, comprehending and interacting with reality, for guiding his responses and behavior, determines, within limits, the degree to which his consciousness falls under his own control. They determine the degree to which he can utilize his consciousness as a relatively independent, versatile instrument to adaptively change himself, his behavior, the results of his behavior, and his reality for his benefit. Thus, his consciousness and behavior exude power. Hence, consciousness is a type of intelligence. It is creative, inventive, and innovative, and is therefore an adaptational instrument in both the reactive and proactive sense, which is used to deal with internal and external environmental demands. It can be used to influence the individual self and his or her environment relative to his or her perceptions, needs, desires, and expectations. Its formative past experiences determine the degree and extent to which it is able to generate and sustain the working relations of its internal and external universes in ways which enable the individual to realize his desires. That is, consciousness, the modes of intelligence it characteristically develops and utilizes, is influenced to a marked degree by the types of social relations to which the individual has been exposed during his or her most impressionable developmental periods. Should I keep going? I think I'm going to stop here for now. And the only reason I'm going to do that, because if I continue, it's going to be a longer segment. And I don't want to deter your attention. I'll actually get back on here before the day is over and I'll read for another half hour or so. But I want you to remember that when I say race first, I mean thought and behavior that places the social, political, economic interest, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the Black and African race first to facilitate African sovereignty. Because all in all, we're African. We say Black because we're here in America and we feel like nobody went through what we went through, even though our brothers and sisters have been going through very much similar things the entire time that we have. And I don't mean just the time over here, because this started with the Arabs a little more than 3,000 years ago. So it's time for us to raise up. But in order to do it, the first principle of the Race First movement is consciousness. And as you see, the master teacher, remember I was telling you on that 10 ancient African virtues, one of the keys or principles that I use to guide my life is to have faith in the master teacher. This master teacher didn't just, like Marcus Garvey, he didn't just say things. And when he got money, he didn't just spend his money on himself. He used $600,000+ of funds to gather this research. It wasn't a game. The book is like almost 900 pages, if I'm not mistaken, right? And I don't care how long it is because it's more than worth it. And even though it seems like it's embroiled to some of us, when you read a book, you're not supposed to just read it and that's it. Especially a book that's as informative and direct as this. You're actually supposed to go back over that book. And every time you get to a word you don't know, you're supposed to write it down. Like what I do is I'll read this and the words that I see that I could explain that I might understand, but I may not be able to directly define accurately. I'll put them on words to grow on so that we can, like that term inextricably came up again. And I know it's going to be used throughout. There were also a couple of other words, but I'll listen to it, write it down, and I'll start putting those on words to grow on. This way you can go there and listen to the definitions of certain words. You can even go directly to whichever word you want. I'm not going to put them in alphabetical order yet, but at some point I probably will. But this way, it's already there for you. But I really appreciate you taking out the time to listen. I appreciate any of you that shared, any of you that liked, and any of you that gave genuine positive comments or any critical comment, that I might not have stated or that you agree with, But I'd like to know, what have you learned thus far for Blueprint for Black Power? What other books would you like for me to read? Um, and if you did, and if you were able to donate, I definitely appreciate it. It's going to go directly to the cause of doing what I'm doing and sustaining being able to do it. And may the ancestors return that favor to you 10,000 times fold. I hope that your today is great and may your tomorrow be greater. Hotep family, race first at all times, and at all times, race first. See you next time on part 12, Blueprint for Black Power by the Honorable Dr. Amos Wilson.